Hi everyone.
Hello.
And we'll start now this webinar. First of all, I'm going to introduce some technical information, and then we'll start with Marina from GVC, and then the main facilitator Borja. We'll start the main presentation. Just a couple of things. It's quite easy. The platform is quite good, the Zoom platform. And you have here some useful information on the screen. Please turn off your mic and now, because we don't need voices. And please, if you want to comment something or you have any doubt or whatever, you can ask via the chat. That's the most useful place for that. And well, we will start at any moment. Please do ask everything via the chat. And happy to be here with you today. Thanks for joining us for this webinar. The webinar is part of a broader program with a big consortium. At CIECA, we are the training provider for the training activities in this program, but it's quite bigger program, and our colleagues from GVC and Alianza will introduce this program, the main objectives, and we'll discuss after the main presentation, and more things on that. And please, Borja, could you put the video? We'll see a short video now, and then Marina will explain us more things on this program. Thank you, Borja.
More and Better EU Aid Volunteers is a project run by GVC alongside 9 partners, involving 38 European organizations to enhance capacities in humanitarian aid operations and volunteering management abroad. Using the right recipe made up of e-learning courses, trainings in 9 EU countries, online toolkits and seminars, we focus on the common objective of implementing best practices in humanitarian aid delivery. Together, we can strengthen the humanitarian aid action, because together we are more and better.
Thank you, Borja. Marina, if you want to jump in.
Yes, thank you, Camille, and thank you, Borja. I'm Marina Mantini from GVC. Good afternoon to everybody. I'm the communication focal point for EU Aid Volunteers Initiative at GVC. Welcome to everybody. In the video you have just seen, produced by GVC and our consortium, we introduced the project More and Better EU Aid Volunteers that organizes this webinar. What is this More and Better EU Aid Volunteers? The full title explains well the main objective of the project, that is enhancing technical capacity of European organizations and improving opportunities for EU citizens to participate in humanitarian aid actions. So the focus is on humanitarian aid, and how through the EU Aid Volunteers Initiative, in particular through our project, European NGOs and other organizations could improve their action in this field. And More Better is led by GVC. We are an Italian NGO specialized in humanitarian aid and development. We work in more than 24 countries in the world, but we are very well accompanied by other organizations that are Alianza por la Solidaridad from Spain, the Instituto Marques de Valleflor from Portugal, NGO Support Center from Cyprus, Eesti People to People from Estonia, Juanimo Carjero Centras from Lithuanian, and 3 platforms that are Latvian Platform for Development Cooperation from Latvia, Sloga from Slovenia, and Hand from Hungary. And we have also the University of Bologna as associate partner. The project, it lasts 24 months, will last until February 2019, and we would like to strengthen the capacities of European organizations through e-learning trainings, an international residential training of trainers, national trainings, and other communication activities and events like conference and so on. The project will reach 87 organizations, and why this webinar now? We have already completed the need assessment in the 9 countries. Where we mapped organizations that want to be involved in the trainings that will start by January. But if you are an organization that want to be part of this e-learning course, please let us know by sending an email or so on. And this e-learning course that Borja will describe later is about humanitarian aid, and you can inscribe yourself until the 8th of January. So I invite you to inscribe, and it aims to organizations mainly, but even to private people who want to know more about humanitarian actions. And then next, after this e-learning course that will last 3 weeks, you will receive a certificate by the IEK that organize and manage the course. And then we will have the training of trainers residential in Bologna from the 19th to the 44th of February. It is organized by GVC and its partner. You can find all this information in euvolunteerportale.org or write to me to my email, and I think that I can let the word to Camille and then Borja, and thank you very much and welcome.
Okay, just to say thank you, Marina, for all this information. We'll share after the presentation more links to the web page and on the training and more elements of this important project. And right now, Borja, if you want to jump in and start the presentation.
Sure. Thank you, Camille, and thank you, Marina, to initiate a little bit and to give a short description of the program. So we have, I think, like we have almost 50 participants. So I guess some of you never heard before about this initiative, or you found it in the social networks, or you belong to an organization that you would be interested. So we are going to summarize a little bit the most important details. So why somehow the EU has launched this kind of initiative? So most probably this year in 2017, you have seen or you have heard in the media all disasters that have been happening in the US or in the Caribbean, for example, with the hurricanes, but as well many floods and landslides in Asia, in India, Bangladesh, or still many severe droughts that are happening in sub-Saharan African countries. So based on some United Nations data, the vulnerability and the exposure to natural hazards in the last 20 years has caused the loss of more than 1 million people's lives and the displacement of 4,000 million people. That means that disaster reduction should be a priority, and as much as we can do would be better to reduce the number of losses, economic losses, lives of people. And at the same time, European countries share many things, and among them some values of humanity and solidarity. So when we combine on one side the humanitarian need and the needs of better responses and better prevention, and at the same time the European value of solidarity, somehow the European Union Aid Volunteer Initiative combine these both, and this is what it has formed the initiative called EU Aid Volunteer. So it was born in 2010, and after some piloting, finally in 2014, the European Parliament voted in favor of the legislation to create this initiative. So the goals are very ambitious because after the next, from 2015 until 2020, 4,000 EU aid volunteers would be deployed. There is a big bunch of funding to fund different activities needed in this program. And we are going to explain how you as an organization or as a volunteer can be involved in the initiative. So first of all, we are going to see a video that somehow put us in the environment and put us with images in the place where these EU volunteers are. Let's see.
For humanitarian situations, it becomes much more difficult sometimes to recruit people.
We need trained people, we need professionals to have an impact.
The EU Aid Volunteer Programme is a huge opportunity to get new skills, new enthusiasm, and new blood into the whole humanitarian sector.
The program allows us to tap into a pool of human resources that we would have otherwise not been exposed to in our recruitment processes.
We have the possibility to select and train tailored profile for our partners abroad, improve the competencies and the skills that we have in our project.
Volunteers are not only highly skilled, but they do receive a training. So once they reach the hosting organization, they already know what they might face on the field and they are aware of the possibilities that they have.
We see it as a really rare opportunity to have funds available for capacity building for partners on humanitarian assistance, but also on volunteer management and volunteers, not only international, but also local and national volunteers.
It also enables us to engage in other networks that the other EU agencies who are applying for this program are involved in.
The volunteers do not come here just to have an experience, but really to share their abilities, their capacities, and involve in the activities of the project directly.
The EU Aid Volunteer Programme is about bringing in young people with a range of skills, with enthusiasm, with qualifications, and with an excitement for life into the humanitarian sector as a pool for the future.
Excellent. So I hope you could see and hear well the video. If you have any issue, you can obviously ask in the chat and Camille somehow will take care. So I think more or less you already got an idea of what the EU Aid Volunteer. So the objectives of the initiative are obviously to increase the capacity of the European Union to provide a better humanitarian aid, somehow to improve the opportunities for citizens of the European Union to participate in humanitarian aid activities and operations. So I've been involved, I've been working in development during the last 2 years, and I have had many colleagues from the European Union that at some point they ask me, well, I have skills, I have my own professions, but for some time I would love to volunteer in a developing country. So finally, there is an opportunity for them to involve, but also to involve being trained. So it's as well an opportunity nowadays that somehow we are in a crisis of values in the EU, and there are somehow some doubts and fears of our values. So I think this initiative as well represents the good things that join all the member states of the European Union, and it's a good way of communicating these humanitarian principles through this program. Obviously, volunteers are not deployed alone and are deployed in company with the organizations, but are deployed trained with the skills, knowledge, and competencies that are needed in a humanitarian environment. And obviously, the opportunity to bring volunteers that are in their own countries are good professionals, trained with a lot of skills, that will build the capacity of the hosting organizations in developing countries that might require those skills after the needs assessment that Marina mentioned. So always there should be a needs assessment of what are the needs in those countries and in those hosting organizations. So what does the initiative offer? So it offers obviously capacity building to the EU humanitarian response, offer opportunities for NGOs, because at some point the NGOs will require for a quick pool of human resources that might respond in some humanitarian crisis, or might be needed in opportunities to improve disaster risk reduction in disaster-prone areas. So that's a huge opportunity for sending organizations. When we call sending organization, means organizations from the European Union that are somehow involved in the humanitarian field, and they would like to deploy these human resources with organizations that they collaborate or even branches of the sending organization in developing countries. So it required to foster partnership, because in this initiative, one of the first things, and we are going to explain it in the next slides, so the sending organization from the EU and the host organization in a third country, in a developing country, they need to partner, they need to create a partnership, so that create mutual benefits for them. And obviously, as I mentioned, it's an opportunity for volunteers, for many EU citizens that would like to participate and contribute in this area of the humanitarian environment. And finally, this is very important. Usually preparedness in disaster risk reduction and preparedness are underfunded areas, are areas that are not properly humanitarian response. So people prefer to use the money as soon as possible to save lives. Somehow in development work, preparedness and DRR are not very visible, because if you prevent a disaster, you will never see that happen. So it's not like when you build a road or you build a well. These kind of investments are usually underfunded because of their characteristics. So it's a huge opportunity of this initiative to increase and invest with human resources. So who does what? So on one side, we have the European Commission, right? That they have launched the program and they set the priority areas for deployment of the volunteers and the funding of every year. They provide these resources, and they provide as well with the online platform that will be used to connect the partners and to launch the initiatives and so on. Secondly, we have the sending and hosting organizations. So they form a consortia, we will explain in the next slides. They submit a proposal, and they will, and especially the host organization, they will undertake work, humanitarian work, and they will receive and manage the EU aid volunteers. And finally, we have the volunteers, the EU citizens that will be trained, and they will have the opportunity to work in a humanitarian organization. That will definitely bring benefits for all of them, for the host communities, because that will reinforce their capacities and their resilience. And these volunteers will support them in their regular work, because at the end of the day, it's the host community and the host organizations, the ones that are reducing the risk of future disasters. So these volunteers at least can support, can contribute with their skills. This brings benefits for civil society organizations, obviously, because that provides the opportunity to have available a network of people well-trained, carefully selected, and they are ready for action. So this kind of pool of aid volunteers is an amazing resource for civil society organizations that help to build their humanitarian response capacity. And one thing that everyone will have in mind if you belong to a EU organization, what do I need to do to be eligible? So you can be eligible if you adhere to the standards and procedures of the EU Aid Volunteer Initiative. Somehow the organization should be active in the humanitarian field, and it should be either a non-governmental, non-profit organization established in the European Union or member state, one of them. It can be also a civilian public law body from a member state or referring to Article 23, or it can be as well part of the International Federation of the Red Cross. And what are the benefits for volunteers? I think they already know if some of them are participants in this webinar, but they have the amazing opportunity to get involved in humanitarian aid and support the provision of needs-based humanitarian aid and engage in volunteer opportunities in a third country. And obviously it's a unique learning experience. And after this presentation, we are gonna have the possibility to speak with a former volunteer. So, and we will have a real experience with us. So what is the process for the organizations? So first, if you belong to an organization, you need to certify yourself. Either if you are an organization that will send volunteers from the EU, or if you are a host organization in a developing country, you need to pass through a certification process that is not complicated. And we can explain later, if you want, the instruction, the rules. You can also find them, as Marina said, in the website of the initiative. And after you pass all the requirements, you are certified. Once you are certified alone as an organization, you need to build a consortium. So if you are a sending organization, you need to find a consortium with a hosting organization that will receive the volunteers, and the other way around. So once you have your partner, you can already submit the project proposals in order to deploy EU aid volunteers in the humanitarian context that you are working with. So first, certification, second, consortium, and third, you submit a proposal in order to be approved. So you should know as well that also this initiative brings a lot of benefits. That also has challenges. So for example, before deploying a volunteer, you need to perform a needs assessment in order to see what are the needs of the hosting organization, what are the needs of the humanitarian environment where these humanitarians will be deployed. But unfortunately, there is no specific funding for this needs assessment. So the organization should be aware that they should do it with the resources. Also, in terms of human resources, there are differences between organizations in their capacity to recruit, to deliver, to prepare facilities and logistics, or to facilitate the cultural adaptation of the volunteers. So always there are differences between organizations. And always there are differences between the quality of coaching offered to volunteers, because volunteers is very important than sending and host organization. They should take care of them and train them, and also they coach them. Some important lessons learned that we have already had in the last 2 years of the initiative, and some organizations have provided us with these lessons. Very important that the selection of the volunteer is not only done by the sending organization, but also the local partner is involved, the host organization. So both, they should evaluate which volunteer fits more with the skills needed and which volunteer will support them in their capacity, based on their capacity. After 2 years, we have realized that the initiative really promotes solidarity between citizens of Europe, because obviously the European volunteers first, they meet together. So that creates an amazing community from different member states, sharing the value of humanity, solidarity that can be also shared with other friends, colleagues. And this initiative really highlights the European values of solidarity. So it's very important that the recruitment of volunteers is focused on the skills needed. So this is not a program where volunteers are somehow sent to a place where there is a need and let's see what that volunteer can do. In this program, as we said, there is a needs assessment. So the skills of the volunteers are really a benefit for the humanitarian environment. So the recruitment should be focused on skills needed, and that creates a lot of added value. And also the European Union, the European Union needed an agile mechanism in order to respond to the unprecedented challenges that the humanitarian environment faces today. So to those needs, it's very useful for the European Union to have a pool or cluster of suitable qualified volunteers across Europe. So let's see, we have here one experience in a video, 1 minute, of Marco, that he was volunteering in Lebanon. So let's hear his experience briefly. Let's see the video. Here it is.
أنا اسمي ماركو، أنا من سويسرا وهلا أنا ساكن في صاخبة. أنا بشتغل مع GVC.
Sorry, it looks we have had some complications with the video, but no problem. I mean, you can obviously see it in the link and in the website of EU Aid Volunteers. So before having the real interview with a volunteer, with Lucas Ray, we're gonna see some data of the volunteers already deployed. As you can see, there are many countries that have hosted already EU Aid volunteers from South America, Sub-Saharan Africa, and West Africa, Middle East, and South Asia. So 206 volunteers up to, I think, July 2017 have been deployed. So 28 countries have been already host countries for the volunteers. So it's already a big number, but so far many volunteers more are expected in the plans, as we saw at the beginning in the expectations until 2020. So it's a huge opportunity that will be there in the next 4 years. 101 organizations have been already certified, 25 sending organizations and 76 in this case hosting organizations. And the certification process is ongoing. So any organization that somehow is listening to us right now, so they have the capacity to start reading and checking the requirements and to start the certification process. And also many partners, many project partners have already participated in technical assistance projects and capacity building projects. So although there are already some significant numbers, the expectations are much higher. So let's see how much impact this initiative can have in the next years. I'm looking forward. And finally, let's have I guess everyone wants to hear the experience of a volunteer, and we have with us Lucas Ray. Just turn on the micro whenever you are ready, and meanwhile I can present you, I can introduce you. So Lucas is from Spain, and he volunteered in Jordan. His sending organization was Alianza por la Solidaridad, which is based in Spain. And the host organization was as well the branch, the organization itself in Jordan, Alianza por la Solidaridad. He was working as a financial and administration officer. So he was monitoring project and financial issues, doing some accountant, logistics, and inventory. So Lucas, are you there with us?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I think I can hear you. So
okay.
Can you turn on the video as well, so maybe we can see you?
I turned it on already.
Okay, maybe I couldn't see you. Okay, so yeah, it will be a pleasure if you can explain us during 5 minutes your experience and your highlights and the impact of your work.
Okay, so well, to begin with, I will tell you about my background. So I studied social work and the economics degree in Madrid, in the university. And I wanted to find a job in which I could apply both of them through my professional skills and during my professional career. So when I was finishing economics, I did a finance internship in Alianza por la Solidaridad, and I was there for 5 months and supporting the finance department. And I heard about the European Union Aid Volunteers Initiative while working with them. So I became interested because the learning possibilities were very interesting, and because the intercultural context for which I was applying, which in my case was Jordan, was also very interesting for me. So the steps for the deployment: first, the selection process begins filling out a form for a specific position. So you can find all the details of the position, from the sending organization, the host organization, the time of the deployment, the allowance you will receive while being deployed, and all the details. And once you are pre-selected as a candidate, you go to a 10-day training in humanitarian aid and in project management, safety, security, with other candidates from all over Europe. So in my case, it was in Pisa for 10 days, and it was very interesting to share this knowledge and these different experiences, because each one had a different background, and it was a very intensive course, and very nice to meet all these people from other countries. So after that, once you are selected from a specific position, in my case it was for Jordan with Alianza por la Solidaridad, and my role would be to be administration and financial officer. So as my position was a junior position, I had 2 months of training and learning in Madrid, in the headquarters of Alianza. So I could learn about the day-to-day activities and all the specific details I needed to know in order to develop my skills afterwards during the deployment. So after these 2 months in Madrid, in January 2017, I went to Jordan, to Amman, and there I developed many different activities, because from one side I could develop my financial skills from my studies in the university. I was working with budgets, with follow-ups. I also applied the project management competencies that I learned during the training in Pisa, and I had the opportunity to work very close with our partners to monitor the implementation of the project. And so I had a very nice experience, and I could apply many of my skills during the deployment. So for me, it was very nice because I gained experience. I lived abroad, which was also one of the things I wanted to do, and it was very interesting. So I would recommend definitely this experience. And if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to ask.
Thank you very much, Lucas. Exactly. I mean, if someone has any question, we can always answer here in the website. I see that meanwhile Marina and Blanca are already answering questions. So how was somehow your contribution affecting the work that Alianza por la Solidaridad was doing in Jordan?
Well, in my case, I was there for 6 months and I had the opportunity to work well, every day in the financial department, I would say, but I also had the opportunity to help in the other side of the project in the implementation, and not only financial but also in other areas which I was interested in, since our projects were with refugees from Syria. So I not only developed my skills in economics and in financial matters, but also in other areas that I could invest my time in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. I don't know if someone else have a question in the chat, so we can ask Lucas before moving to the online training. Did you have also the experience did you have the opportunity to share training or professional experience with other European volunteers?
Well, I did the training in Pisa for 10 days.
Ah, that's true, yeah.
There was people from Italy, from France, from Belgium, so it was a pool of different European countries. And it was very interesting because each one had a different background, different studies, different interests. Each one was applying for a different country, so it was a very, very interesting course during 10 days, and it's very intense because you live for 10 days. We live all together, learning and going to different courses during the security training. So it was very, very nice.
Hello, Lucas. I have a question for you. This is Else from Richmond Dale Academy. How are you?
Hi. Nice, thank you.
Lucas, we have the pleasure of having 10 EU8 volunteers here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
No, I probably.
Someone talking. Can you hear me, Lucas?
Yes. Sorry, okay. I cannot hear you very well.
Oh, you can't see me. Wait a minute.
I cannot hear you very well. Okay, yeah.
All right, now you can
Hi, yeah.
Very good, Lucas. We have the pleasure of having 10 EU8 volunteers here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and they are wonderful people, each of them. I just have a question for you, because I would like to know, how has this experience changed your life? Because I know when you meet people, you have been in Jordan, I was in Africa myself many years ago, and you meet poor people, then it changes your life, it opens your heart. So I would just like to know, how has it changed your life?
Well, in my case, it was not my first volunteering experience, because some years ago I went to Senegal to volunteer also, just for 2 months. So that first time was the first time when you do something for the first time, it's always the one that really pushed you. And that in Senegal, it was the first time that I volunteered, and it was the one that taught me and the one that changed my mind. And here I had the opportunity to go to a completely different context. So, and now I'm older, so the experience is completely different. But I had the chance to meet people and to talk to people very different from me, very different families, very different backgrounds, and it's mind-changing because you see the world from a different perspective.
Lucas.
Yes.
I think here you have several questions. I'm going to read them.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'm going to try to see it on the chat.
Yeah, Marta asked if you have any tips for the application. Have you had previously practical experience before applying, or just university-related experience?
Okay, well, as I was telling you before, I had like just 2 months volunteering in Senegal, but it was not a professional experience. And before applying for the process in the webpage, I had an internship during 5 months in Alianza. So this was my only experience in the. I just did 5 months in an internship volunteering in the headquarters of Alianza during the end of my study, and that was my only experience. So I would say that anyone can, especially for junior positions, anyone can apply if you feel strong and you really want to do this. I would just recommend you to do it because it's a very good experience.
Okay, and I think you have another one from Ibaras. What were the biggest challenges during the process, from the application and now?
Well, the moment in which you are in the airport in your home country and you think about going for 6 months or 12 months or even 18 months to another country, and maybe you won't go back to your at home for this long period, you really rethink about it. But then when you arrive there, the challenges are for me, for example.
Sorry, Lucas.
Yes?
Lucas, 1 second. I'm sorry, but there is someone who is making a lot of noise and has the microphone open. So please.
I check that, yeah.
Okay, because we barely hear Lucas. Thank you, Daniela, for highlighting this in the chat. Sorry, go ahead, Lucas.
Okay, so yeah, the challenges once you arrive there, for me, in my case, since it was in Jordan, the language people talk there is Arabic, and I don't speak Arabic. So that, for the first thing, it already stops you a little bit in communicating with others. But then, little by little, you begin to know some words, you begin to know the people, and you open yourself a lot. And people also open themselves because they see that you are interested in their living, in their way to see things, and you're from another country, so they also become interested in you.
And finally, I think the last one, maybe Lucas, so we don't take more time. Thank you very much. What are, from J. Zorrilla, what are the main skills needed to the volunteer in the field? What are the main skills that a volunteer need in the field?
Well, in my case, it was a financial administration position. I had to have some financial skills, obviously, but in common for all the positions, I would say that the 10-day training that all the volunteers receive before deployment is the main course you would need, because you cover courses about humanitarian aid, project management, about security, about safety, how to organize yourself, how to manage stress, because when you live abroad and in a country that you don't know, managing stress is a very important thing. So all these things are taught in the course that all the volunteers receive before the deployment. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Lucas. Thank you very much. It has been very useful to have you with us as a representative of a volunteer. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and I hope everyone would push themselves to go on this experience. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. And finally, so if you want to know more about the initiative, so especially if you are an organization interested in either sending volunteers or hosting volunteers, so we'd like to know more. So there is an opportunity offered by IECA and the partners, GVC, Alianza for Solidaridad, from January 15th to February 4th, during 3 weeks. We will have a training on volunteering in humanitarian action. So what you can learn in this training, so you can learn much more about the initiative, many of the small details needed to be certified, to deploy volunteers, to act as a real humanitarian organization in case you don't have much experience about it. Also, you will learn principles and values of the humanitarian environment and action. You will learn more about the actors, the platforms that exist in humanitarian responses, and you will learn as well about some other cross-cutting issues that exist and are needed in humanitarian responses. And obviously, this training is an incentive because it will be very useful. And I think, you will receive, if you sign in to this webinar, you will receive after the webinar a link to the course for those that can somehow be eligible, especially for organizations, as we mentioned. And I don't know if you have more questions about the program that either myself or the partners, Marina from GVC, Blanca from Alianza, Camille from IECA, they are eager to respond any questions that you might have. Either if you are a sending organization, a potential hosted organization, a volunteer. So you can either write it in the chat or you can also open your micro. So as far as I know, I think there is no limit age. You should be at least 18 years old for sure, but it's very broad. You can be. It doesn't matter the age, unless Blanca or Marina wants to go further than that.
Oh, you're right, Borja. Thank you very much. The minimum age is 18, but there's no upper limit. So tired people. Yeah, anyone from 18 above can participate.
Thank you. The next question is, as a volunteer, is there any open project of teaching abroad to participate? So I think maybe Blanca can answer this, but I think soon will be vacancies. But Blanca, can you maybe reply this?
Yeah, that's it. As Borja said in the beginning, the vacancies are designed according to hosting organizations' needs. So yeah, it is probable that some of them needs some teaching or some teaching profile or training, maybe rather, but I cannot tell for sure. The new vacancies are not there yet. And I mean, as long as it is a training or teaching a connection with humanitarian action or with the work of the hosting organizations, it might be for sure.
And Blanca, obviously, I guess they can check the vacancies in the website, but can you help with any specific link in the chat or how volunteers that want to check the vacancies, how they can do it? Thank you. I think Marina already.
I think Marina already put it. Thank you. There you can find the general overview of vacancies. Then the vacancies posted by all active sending organizations in the program, not only GC or Alianza. So for the broad perspective, that link.
So Carlo is asking if there is a set of minimum requirements for local organizations to host volunteers. So I think the first thing we said is that either if you are a sending organization or a host organization, you need to certify yourself. So you can learn more about this either in the website or I can encourage you to sign in for the online course where you will receive more information. But the certification process has some simple instructions that you need to do. You're required to do a needs assessment and also to have some references on the work that you are doing. After that, you need to create a partnership with a sending organization. That's very important because you cannot submit a proposal unless you don't have a partnership with a sending organization from from the EU. And I think Serena is also. How are the projects financed? So I think that there is some funding for the deployment of the volunteer.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there is to what extent it can, which amount of money could be covered, or which type of costs are covered. Well, in general, who the institution who finances is the ACEA, an European agency, and there's always a 50% of co-financing by the partner organization. So the grant covers the 85% of the project, and the rest has to be provided by the organizations themselves. The share can be as the consortium prefers. And then, if I'm not wrong, the maximum funding for deployment projects is 1,700,000 euros. But I'm going to give you the exact information right now. I don't know if that was more or less a question, or it was more specific.
Yeah, I think in this case, maybe the question was related with projects, but I think what needs to be funded is the deployment of the volunteer, because the project, this initiative is somehow to deploy.
Well, the interesting thing of deployment projects is precisely that it's not only strictly directed to deployment activities to cover the trips, the insurance, the allowances of the volunteers, the resettlement allowances, and the accommodation, and so on, but also other type of technical assistance or capacity building activities can be funded, like, for example, meetings with the consortium, or any training or visits to the field offices for activities can also be funded. So let's say the biggest part of the project is directed to the deployment, and it's also a costly part of it, but also other type of activities can be covered.
So Camille, Ernesta is asking if we can submit the presentation to the people who have been participating in this webinar.
Yes, actually we are recording the webinar, so we'll publish the video next week or later on the project website. So no worries about that, and we will publish the video so you can see the video.
Okay, thank you. Then Serena was asking that what are the steps, like the first step is the online course. I think maybe Serena is a potential volunteer. And the second one she mentioned is in presence. I think for a volunteer, I think you need to apply. And once you get selected, you get access to the training.
Yeah, that's it. First of all, it's necessary to apply following the official process that is announced in the platform. And well, after the recruitment process, if you're pre-selected, you might have an interview. If you pass the interview, you will be a trainee in the online and in presence training. And then after the training, if you're considered fit for deployment, like once you pass the training, you're officially fit for deployment, the final decision is taken, because sometimes more than one people per position are trained in case of dropouts or in case of anything, and it's after the training when the decision is taken. But there is also a prior process, of course, of sending your CV, self-assessment, an application.
Great. Let's wait for some additional questions.
And sorry, Borja, I was seeing another question by Carlos saying that regarding the funding, if a project having its own funds can add a volunteer funded by. Yeah, of course, that's it. This initiative doesn't cover projects themselves. It is to complement activities that are already taking place in the field. So yeah, totally. A funded volunteer can be placed in other projects that are already existing.
Yeah, I think Blanca, we lost you.
You couldn't hear my reply?
Oh, yeah, just the last 5 seconds, no, not much.
Okay, yeah, no. So the summary was that yeah, an EU-funded volunteer can be placed in any working project. I also see something related to the training again, and no, according to what we've been saying, not anyone can take part on the training. If you're referring to the training for volunteers, only those who have been pre-selected as candidates for a certain position.
Yeah, we have the question of Andrea, that he has worked hard and submitted many applications. However, he didn't succeed to have positive answers. So he's asking for advice and feedback.
Okay, Andrea, well, thanks for your interest, first of all, and for your insistence and willingness. I would say not to give up, because, well, sometimes we have vacancies in which we require very specific skills or competences. Others are broader. Some vacancies are very appealing and many people apply, and of course there's more competence, and well, maybe there's less possibilities to succeed. But I mean, the important thing is that you see that if whether your profile matches the terms of reference. And yeah, of course, if you see this is your profile and you have opportunities, don't give up.
I think Ernesta is asking about the main responsibilities of a sending organization and what are the advantages.
Well, the main responsibilities of the sending organizations are to select the volunteer, but that selection is always together with the hosting organization. Also, we as sending are in charge of doing the pre-deployment induction of the volunteers, of providing them with the flight tickets, and also we should monitor them. They always have a mentor or a tutor on the field, but we should also check on them and mentor a bit from here. Those can be very broadly the main responsibilities, and the main advantages is, of course, the opportunity to work in the initiative together with many other organizations. As I was saying, there are also other extra activities for the consortium can be covered. Any meetings, trainings, for example, we as in a deployment project are running currently, we are having trainings on how to manage online volunteering and things like that. Of course, it's also a way of having a bigger social base, because more people get to know us, and sometimes they keep on engaged with us after the they return to Europe, they might continue being online volunteers, or they somehow spread the word about the work of the organization, or if, in the case of they are based in Spain, in case of them being living in Spain, they might join us also. And yeah, it's always a way of increasing the social base and the organization. And in cases such as Alianza or GVC, when you also have field offices, of course the benefit is even bigger, because you have actually volunteers supporting your activities. That could be the summary.
Yeah. So Enar is asking if there are some dates fixed to start to apply to the program. I think that I mean, there are already maybe some projects that will be open for vacancies, for volunteer vacancies in December. However, to submit project proposals, the call will be maybe March 2018, right? Potentially. Although organizations can already start certifying themselves, because remember that if you are an organization that wants to start, first step is to certify, to get the certification. For that, we recommend to sign in the online course that is free in January, so you can receive more details, you can somehow learn more about it, and you have more, obviously, advantages to be certified. And once you get the certification, you can start applying when the call for proposal is open, that hopefully will be March or a bit later. There was a volunteer, Serena, asking if it is possible to submit more than one application. I guess if there are more than one vacancies, if you can apply for different vacancies of different projects.
Yeah, you can. We have the example of Andrea, our friend Andrea, and yeah, you can apply for as many vacancies as you consider. Always, it's important to bear in mind if you are suitable for them or not, because otherwise it might be much work for you. And but of course, you can apply for several.
And Alice is asking, I think, a similar question that was answered before. I don't know if Blanca, you want to summarize what you said about the budget.
Yeah, as for the budget, I focused on the activities covered. I mean the main outputs or the visible things of the project. But of course, human resources are covered. Communication activities are covered. Yeah, for case of activities out of your place, there is subsistence and trips covered. There is translation cost that can be covered. Also, costs for vaccinations or visas are covered for medical checkups. So it's not only it doesn't only cover the very specific costs of sending a volunteer, but also it tries to support all the work that is behind that, the human resources, the equipment necessary, and
Thank you, Blanca. So let's see if we have more questions from the chat. Yeah, Serena is asking, is the course starting in January useful both for organizations and volunteers? Camille, would you like to answer this question?
Yes, sure. Well, this e-learning aims at organization. If we have some, yes, the main objective is to explain to the organization, volunteers organization, how they can participate to this program, what kind of benefits, how to design humanitarian programs linked to volunteering. And well, then that's the main purpose of this e-learning. We'll send to all of us, to all the registered participants, link to the application form, but the selection process is really focused on the participation of organizations to this e-learning.
Aldo, maybe Camille, you can make some promotion and mention that IECA has a lot of online courses for also for individuals to get trained in humanitarian action.
Sure. Well, thanks, Borja. If you have interest in humanitarian action, of course, we have lots of courses on that. So just drop us a line and we'll be in touch.
Since there are no questions, I just wanted to highlight something that Borja mentioned. It was a bit mixed with the development of volunteers. So just for all the organizations to have it clear, the call for applications for the certification of sending and hosting organizations is always open. There's no need to wait for an extra call. So from today to September 2020, you can apply for certification. Of course, it's a process, but since this is mostly addressed to organizations, I think that's important for bear in mind.
Thank you, Blanca. The course will be online and will be from January 15th to February 4th. It will take 3 weeks. We have a bit more time for questions. We started with 49 participants. We almost reached at some point 70. Now we have 56. So I guess more of you have some questions. Yeah, Camille is sending the link of the course for more information.
There's a question, sorry for interrupting, there's a question on the call for applications. I suppose you're meaning for deployment, to present proposals for deployment projects. The call is not yet there, but we've heard that possibly next year it will be earlier than usual, so maybe March or April, May, the latest, there could be a deadline for submitting proposals, but we don't know it for sure. Every year it changes.
Yeah, so if you can see the screen, so here I present a little bit the cover of the training and the link that Camille already sent. And here you can see that during these 3 weeks, the course would have 4 classes, 1 practice activity, and a couple of webinars. And you have some instruction of the methodology and the certification that you will receive, and the link for the program and the registration. Four sessions. I think Carlo is asking how many sessions. There are 4 sessions. Nat is asking if most of the volunteering projects are 6 months long. I think the duration, it varies a lot. It varies from very short up to 18 months. But I don't know if Blanca or Marina or can somehow, based on your experience, more or less what is the average of the volunteering projects?
Yeah, as Borja said, the duration ranges from 1 month to 18 months. And but yeah, it's true that, I mean, I'm talking on our experience. The average is around 6 months, but you can find shorter missions of 2 or 3 months, or longer ones of 10, 12 months. But yeah, it always depends on the definition of the terms of reference of the needs in the field, so it can vary from 1 to 18. But yeah, 6 months ones are really successful.
Yes, for GVC is the same, more or less. The most volunteering vacancies are for 6 months, very few for 1 month, and then 12 and more. But the average is 6 months, more or less.
I guess it's also a balance, right, between a minimum number of time where the volunteer can have some impact, can already get into the environment, he already adapt to the, not only to the cultural environment, but also to the work environments. And also if with the professional somehow remuneration that maybe one person want to have, so they can volunteer for some amount of months, but maybe 18 months, for example, is already a lot, right, as well. So 6 months usually balance both situations.
Yeah, that's it. And also it usually was, for some people it is easy, or they can allow themselves to be out for long periods, but others are not. And also in terms of being acquainted with the field, some people prefer maybe not too long, but not too short missions, because in 1-2 months it's not the same. But well, opportunities are offered in general for different needs, and that can adjust to different different profiles of people.
So any other additional question? So, well, anyhow, if anyone has any additional question, we have a couple more minutes. But the link, I mean, this video has been also recorded. So Camille and the partners will send the link where you can see it again if needed. Also the link of the website of the course. So anyone interested in that course should register. And well, you can see, previously we saw a little bit that website, but you will receive the link, and through that registration link you can apply for the online course. So, and obviously for volunteers interested, there is the possibility to have more courses that you can see in the chat. Aside from this course that maybe is a little bit more focused on organizations, as they need to certify and apply for partnerships and submit proposals. So Enar is, maybe we have one of the last questions. If there is any kind of meeting, I don't know if Lucas is here, he could mention his experience, but if there is any kind of meeting, training after the volunteering period to evaluate the experience, maybe coach to look for a job in the humanitarian sector, or to help to face potential cultural shocks after coming back home.
Yeah, sorry.
Go on, Blanca.
No, I was about to say that every deployment, I was not sure if you were there, Lucas. Every deployment project foresees three parts: the pre-deployment, the deployment, and the post-deployment. So after the deployment, it is thought to, of course, get back to the volunteer to see how it goes, to give them opportunities if necessary to receive any psychological support if they are getting a shock, or offering information on the world of humanitarian action and active citizenship. And then also they keep active. They usually requested of keeping active, such as Lucas is today here spreading the word. So also taking part, like bring their views of what they've lived in other countries in the field to bring it back to Europe, to be sort of connectors also to realities, and also to disseminate the program itself. Maybe Lucas can add something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that in my case, it was a 6-month deployment. At the beginning, you have an agreement with the organization, so they monitor you and how you feel and if everything is going okay or not. And at the medium term, so 3 months, you have another monitoring, and at the end another one. And also at the end of the deployment, there is an evaluation from the European Union, an independent evaluator who comes and asks you some questions about how you feel, how your experience was, if everything went okay. And so there is a lot of monitoring and evaluation during and at the end of the deployment.
Thank you, Lucas and Blanca. So Stephanie was asking who can apply to the online course. I think Camille already mentioned this before, but everyone somehow can apply, although the training is more focused on potential host and sending organizations. And if there is an overload, it will depend on the number of registrations. So thank you very much. I think it has been a good experience, and I hope participants of this webinar somehow learned about the initiative. I guess you might have any other question, but obviously ask and write email to any of the partners involved that they would be happy to answer you. And we can only encourage you to first obviously apply to the online course. That will be super interesting, but also if you are an organization, to check the certification process and certify yourself, and look for partnerships and then submit projects. The potential of this initiative is really big. And for volunteers, sorry about, I think it was Andrea, right, that has applied. I hope there are many more vacancies in the future and more opportunities. So Andrea has the opportunity to participate, and many other potential EU citizens interested, because I mean, I've been a person that has experience in other volunteering programs, and I've been in a humanitarian situation, and it's very enriching as well. So thank you very much. You will receive the links with the video, the courses, and all the information explained today. And I hope you will be part of this initiative as well. Thank you very much. And I don't know as well if the partners, you want also to say bye.
Thanks, Borja. Thanks to all.
Same. Thanks to everyone for being there and participate.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. So, Camille, can you maybe close the webinar?
Yeah, no, thanks, Borja. Thanks to everyone, guys, for joining us today. And as explained by Borja, we expect that you guys can participate, the most of you or your organizations, to the next step, the e-learning in January. So please do apply to this e-learning, and we'll keep in touch. Thanks. Have a good weekend.
Yeah.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah. Bye.